Hey everyone, welcome to ATech Reviews. Today's video I want to talk quickly about an IM that I've been testing for almost a month now. I enjoyed listening to it a lot, which is the Truthear Nova. I know it's a big IM actually, like it came at an excellent price and it differentiated itself from a lot of IMs by its tuning, by its quality, and many other features it has. And I want to talk about it quickly. I want to give you a quick impressions of it, my impressions. It will not be a review, more like a quick impressions kind of thing. And then I will be comparing it to something like the Gizaudio, Binary Gizaudio Chopin collaboration, and maybe another IM or two, and I will tell you what are the differences in my opinion. First of all, let me talk quickly about the aesthetics, the physicality. As you can see here, obviously the looks is going to be something very subjective. It's a personal opinion kind of thing. And I have to say, for myself, for my personal taste, I'm loving it. I know I'm a simple kind of guy and I dig it. You know, it's not expensive, so I can't complain too much. But I like the glittered kind of thing, the blue color. That shade of blue is actually awesome to look at, and there's like a heavy layer of lacquer here, which makes it shiny and very smooth when you touch it. It's not a thumbprint magnet, which is another positive in my book. Two pins here are kind of like recessed, which is very protective and one of the best types of 2-pin connectors. You have 4 vents here, and it's kind of black all the way. Now, one thing I have to mention is the size. I feel that this is going to be a bit uncomfortable for many people. I know that Truthear has the 0, red and blue, and many people also complain about the size. And for me, it's almost on the edge. Like, I will not say it's uncomfortable, but I have to say that it keeps just dropping out of my ear sometimes when I move, and I have to push it back. This is not an IM that you use while walking or while running or in the gym or while doing any kind of workouts. Because I have tried even just moving with it, and it immediately, I have to reseat it again. I have to put and adjust the fit in my ear. This is also exacerbated by this part right here. It's kind of bulbous, and you can see, like, first of all, like the ear tip, the ear nozzle, excuse me, is kind of on the large side. It's 6.2 millimeter, something like that. Let me double check here because I forget. It is actually on the, wait, let me adjust that. Yeah, it's on the 6.2 millimeter, and it's exactly 6. So excuse me about that. It's exactly 6. I paused and I measured it again. It's exactly 6. So which is like borderline, let's say. It's not large or anything like that. It's borderline. But as I said, this part right here, that bulbous part, plus the volume of the IM itself, you can see the height of it. This part right here makes it kind of big. Enough talking about that. Let me stick this right back. And let me talk another thing about the cable. The cable is very good. It doesn't tangle at all. It has a slight bit of microphonics. I'm not complaining about it. It's just slight, to be honest. But again, which makes me say this IM is not for use when you move. That's just another part of it. The thing that makes me, as much as I love the color of the stock cable, the thing that makes me say I will never use it is this part of the ear hook right here. Now, this part is extremely short, all right? And it has this edge right here. It keeps like hurting my ears, and it's not long enough. So, and let me mention that the cable is a type of cloth. So you can imagine the feeling of cloth rubbing in. Again, it's impossible to use it while moving for many different reasons. Other than that, I think it's okay. Like stationary use, I think it's awesome. Now, let me say a few words about the sounds from my experience with it. I've been using it for almost a month or even more. I listen to it a lot. I have to say, the sound signature here is Harman neutral, which means you get the normal Harman curve, which most of us are familiar with. And the tuning is what you expect from that, with a few caveats. Now, for example, The bass here is a bit light to my taste. I cannot, in all honesty, say it is a neutral bass, and I cannot call this IM neutral. No, because neutral to me doesn't mean no bass. I said that before. Neutral means when the song has bass, I want to listen to it. I want to find it. I tested this with some very bass heavy tracks that I have, and I know that these songs have huge bass. And on the Nova, I perceive it as normal bass. I don't get the impact. Slam is kind of weak. Let's call it gentle, if you will. Punch is okay. Bass is very fast and light. The focus here, I think, is more on the sub bass than the mid bass, which kind of gives it that like light bass feeling, if you know what I mean. Sub bass is not present in many music, like for example, especially rock music. You will not find that a lot of it. So sometimes I find myself searching for that bass guitar that I know is there. It's just perceived as light. That's it. Like, so bass is not the star of our show here. Rather, if you move now with that light bass, as you will, and if you move to the lower mid-range, you get a feeling of very good separation between the bass and the mids, and you get the vocals. I will describe it for male and female actually, is like extremely transparent, which makes it sometimes, dare I say this, but yes, I double check myself many times before I say this, yes, it makes it kind of thin in my opinion, because male vocals usually have a layer of thickness in them, right? You know, male vocals have that thickness, and especially like thick vocals, baritone voices, not only the vocal parts of the mid-range, but I dare I say also the instrument part of the mid-range. Some instruments have a body to them, right? Like take a piano, for example. The low notes, the notes that are thick, that have that bass to them. On the Nova, they are perceived as light bass and very clear and well separated. That's how I'll describe. But I didn't get the impact. Some piano notes have that. They have that thickness to them, right? The richness. Take a cello, for example. It has that richness. It has that deep sound to it, right? It's not perceived at all here. It's just perceived as slightly thin. Which again, when we go to the upper mid-range, you find that the upper mid-range here is almost on the edge. I have to say, sometimes it's not shouty, but I would say it's glaring. It's on the edge. Sometimes with some female vocals, it could be perceived as slightly shrill. Yes, that's my perspective. That's my opinion as I compared it to many other IMs in that range. It's not bad sounding at all. Again, the transparency aspect here makes the vocal sounds really good. It's a bit forward to my liking. It's awesome. I just find myself not completely satisfied because I wish that the male vocals, the instruments had that body, that richness, that tones are more full, you know? So I don't like the warm vocals that much, but still this is like not natural. So that's how I would describe it. If I describe this Nova, I would describe it as very lean. It's extremely lean. Anyway, back to the treble. The treble, I think the part that saves it here, it is done in a realistic manner. It sounds very natural. The drum cymbals, the cymbal strikes, the hi-hats, all of these things sound very good. They sound natural. They're not overemphasized. They're not underrepresented. They sound where they are. Imaging and soundstage, I would call it average, and I cannot say any more than that. Soundstage, I will not call it intimate. It's just really average. It's just your normal, you know. I am at this price range. Imaging is not impressive or anything like that. I would say average. I will not say below average. It's just average, medium. Like nothing caught my eye. I didn't feel an excellent sense of separation or anything like that, you know. Mainly due to the smooth treble it has. The treble is not, but when I say it's smooth, I don't mean that it's not defined or lacks clarity. No, it's just at that good level which you get. So again, this is very well tuned, and especially when you think about the price here, $150, it excels. It's not only like not good, no, it is excellent. I have a few opinions about a few things. As I said, the bass is not as it should be. In my opinion, it should be have a bit more mid bass, and the upper mid range, if it could be pulled back just slightly, and maybe if it has more treble. But again, at this price range and the whole package, I think it delivers very well, and it makes it a recommendation from me for an excellent IM. It is something to experience. You have to try it to understand also something like this, which I could actually call reference, no problem. If it just had a bit more bass, that would be good. Speaking of the bass, like I try something like this hi-fi here, which I bring on many times because it has this X bass here that I use sometimes to spice up an IM, make it more fun, make it more engaging, instead of it being a bit like neutral, clinical, something like that. You could call the Nova, and it didn't work actually for the Nova because it made the bass muddy and the bass shelf was like too generalized, if you could say that. So I'm not an EQ type of guy. I just like to pay my money, get my IM, listen to it the way it is. I know EQ has a lot of potential, but with my lifestyle, I don't have time or effort to do these things. I want to like just insert it, listen to it the way it is done. That makes it easy for me to use on the go, makes it for me easy to train with, do anything I like with. Anyway, EQ is good. If you can use some EQ with this, it will be a winner. You just need to increase some of the mid bass, and the treble and upper mid range is up to your liking. Now, comparing this to the Moondrop variations, I think, like, I saw many people say, oh, it is the variations, oh, it beats the variations. I say it's very close. The variation still has a better, slightly better bass, and it has a lot more detail and imaging capabilities that you don't get from this. Like the treble is slightly more, but is it 3 times the cost or more? No, definitely no, not even 2 times the cost better. I think if people bought the variations and they listen to the Nova, they will understand how good the Nova is as a deal. Now, comparing this now to this, I want to compare it to something else, which in my opinion is just, it's more expensive slightly. I know it's not a good comparison, but if you look at the curves, they're very similar, but it beats it in many ways and makes it my favorite. It is the Gizaudio Binary Acoustics collaboration, which is the Chopin. Now, this Gizaudio is a channel, and the reviewer Timmy has collaborated with Binary to make this IM. Now, it's not a collaboration like you see with other reviewers where they retune an IM to make it, you know, have a better bass shelf or slightly different treble response. But actually this was done and designed from the ground up, which is mad respect, right? I have to say I listened to the Let's Sure Galileo, which is a first collaboration from Gizaudio and Timmy, and it's no secret, it's not to my preference. But I had the Chopin since it was released. I listened to it and I was super impressed with it. I left it on for a long time and I re-listened to it again lately because I went to Can Jam Singapore, and I was deeply, deeply impressed with the Da Vinci from Dunu, a collaboration with Gizaudio. Remember, you heard it here on this channel first. It is like the next big thing. And remember, I told you that when it's going to be released. It's 2 dynamic, 4 BA. So this one here, the Chopin, is 1 dynamic, 3 BA, if I remember correctly. The Truthear Nova is 1 dynamic, 4 BA. The Nova costs 150. The Chopin costs 200, if I remember correctly. Nozzle size is probably the same, maybe 1 millimeter difference. When I measure them, you can see the Chopin is maybe the 1 millimeter bigger. But look at the size of the body first. First of all, aesthetics. I said it's subjective, but I have to be honest, I prefer the Nova a lot. Like, I love the Nova a lot. The way it looks is much more attractive to me. But look at the size now, and I think the Chopin wins, no questions asked. It is so much thinner and so much ergonomic. To look at the difference in the volume. Oh my God, right? Like even the nozzle, it's so much shorter when you compare them like this. If I don't know how to show it, but you can see the nozzle is shorter in the ear and it stays in my ear. You can see the difference. It's a huge difference. And the part here that I don't like, it's the bulbous part here. You can see here in the Chopin, it's super flat, which is awesome. When I wear the Chopin in my ear, it sits flush. And I can move with it. I can do anything I like. I have no problem with it. So that's the size thing. Like it's much smaller, it's much more comfortable and ergonomic, and it stays deep. Obviously here we have two vents situated in different ways. And let me describe the sound now. Now Chopin is also a Harman tuned. I am maybe with a bit of a bass boost, a slight bass boost, a mid-bass slight bass boost, which actually what makes me prefer the Chopin. Mid-range, treble, there are differences I will describe. Let me start by the sub-bass. The Nova has the more sub-bass here. It wins in this department. The Chopin has slightly, like 1 or 2 dBs less. In my testing, in my sound, in my ears, I didn't perceive any difference in the sub-bass. It's just a matter of academic performance and curves. Let's go to the mid-bass, and the Chopin wins out up top because that small bit of mid-bass boost, man, it transforms the IM sound signature. Vocals now, which are perceived as lean on the Nova, are perceived as much more realistic on the Chopin. The piano notes and instrument notes, the cello notes, and all these things that I talked about were perceived as thin on the Nova are perceived as natural, realistic, full-bodied, and rich and meaty on the Chopin. It's much more enjoyable. That small boost, man, just gives it a lot of sense of realism and a lot of fun factor and a lot of like, I want to listen more and more, give me more. Moving on to the mid-range, as I said, the male vocals sound deep, sound natural. Some instruments like electric guitars on the Chopin are a gift from heaven. The grunge of the electric guitar has that exact balance of like detail, mid-range clarity, and just the thickness of the notes that the mid-bass carries. It's not a warm signature at all. I would call the Chopin Harman neutral, actually. It's not a bass boost that makes it bassy. It's not that at all. It's not even for bass heads. But this is what a natural sound sounds like. And when we move on to the treble, the Chopin has, I would say, it's not as realistic as the Nova and the treble, but it has a bit more emphasis or clarity. The shimmer is different. The way the treble is tuned is different. It has a bit more splashy treble, like perceived not as in a bad way, just more clarity. When I listen to some rock tracks, and you can hear now with the Nova, I hear it as lean, a bit thin. I feel that the vocals sometimes could be too much on the upper treble, especially the females. The upper mid-range, and I feel the male vocals are lacking that depth, and I keep finding myself listening to that bass guitar, looking for the drum kicks, the bass impact I get from it. Whereas the Chopin, try to perceive it as this, picture this out. The drum kicks, the bass is there, the impact is there, the slam is there. Bass guitar is very clear in the background, I can hear it, I don't have to search for it, it's impressive. Look at the mid-range, perfect as perfect could be. It is there, it is forward, it's clear. The male's vocals are deep. Instruments, rich. And move on to the treble. Cymbals, excellent. Strikes of the cymbals are excellent. Anything else in the drums, beautiful. That's how I describe it. It makes the whole thing sound very well balanced. The treble in the Chopin aids the imaging. I have a better sense of left-right separation than the Nova. So, I mean, it's not a secret now. I think you know what my preference is. My preference lies in the Chopin. But the Chopin costs $50 more. So, is it worth it when you compare it to the Nova? I think it depends on you and your budget. In my preference, in my personal opinion, I think the Chopin is definitely worth the extra $50. just to save myself from using EQ and just to listen to something that's to my taste and perfectly done the way it is. Again, the Nova is way too thin to my preference, way too lean, and the timbre is not as natural as the Chopin. The male vocals don't sound natural. They sound a bit thin, a bit lean. The instruments sound very, very lean. I think the Chopin wins here. The mid-range and the treble in the Chopin is like something else. You have to experience this to perceive it. And in my honest opinion, the Chopin is the best $200 IM. In my opinion, this is the top of my list at that price. I've listened to a lot of IMs, and this sits as a reference for that price range. Like the treble specifically, you have to hear it to be impressed by it. So that's my opinion, guys. That's it for the review. Both, to conclude it, like both of them are excellent IMs. If the Nova lies within your budget, I will never say you made the wrong choice. It's an excellent choice. It has beautiful aesthetics. The sound quality is excellent, especially what differentiates the Nova is the price range it's competing at. I don't think any IM can compete with the Nova at that price range. It differentiates itself. Just know, maybe you would want to use a bit of EQ if you don't prefer the lean sound as it is. The Chopin actually is tuned, if you can, or if you like that sound signature, it's tuned in that way that is perfect the way it is from the factory. It sounds excellent, and in my opinion at least, it is better and perhaps the best $200 IM I've listened to. So that's it. Leave any comments or any questions you have in the comment section down below. If you have any comments, just ask them. If you have any questions, just ask them. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. You know, it helps the channel. And if you like this channel, if you like my videos, and subscribe for more content. Until then, see you in the next one. Bye.